Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. So today, my group would presentate our works toward a film adaptation critics. We will explain about a review of Where the Wild Things Are book and movie adaptation. For group members, we have 4 members. First, Alia Windi Pangesti with the student number 202111411002. Second, Alvin Pakitias with student number 202111411021. Then Andi Najwa Aulia 202111444033. And the last Sri Wahyuni with the student number 22211189001. Then for the table of contents, we have 6 of it. First, we have synopsis, which will contain the general synopsis of the story. Then second, we have about books. It will contain general information about the book. Then about movie for the third, which will contain a general information about the movie. Then edit, reduce, and modified, contain the differences between the book and the movie. And the fifth conclusion, contain the conclusion of all the material. Then the last, we have personal rating, which will contain the personal rating given by the group. First, I would like to explain about synopsis and about books. Synopsis. The story focuses on a young boy named Max who dresses in his wolf costume. His bedroom changes into a jungle environment and he winds up sailing to an island inhabited by monsters called the Wild Things. Max sails away home and returns to his bedroom, also discovers a hot supper waiting for him. After dressing in his wolf costume, Rex such havoc through his household that he is sent to bed without his supper. Max's bedroom undergoes a mysterious transformation into a jungle environment, and he winds up sailing to an island inhabited by monsters, simply called the Wild Things. The Wild Things try to scare Max, but to no avail. After stopping and intimidating the creatures, Max is hailed as the king of the wild things and enjoy a playful romp with his subject. Finally, he stops them and sends them to bed without their supper. However, to the wild thing's dismay, he starts to feel lonely and decides to give up being king and return home. The creatures do not want him to go and throw themselves into fits of rage as Max sails away home. Upon returning to his bedroom, Max discovers a hot supper waiting for him. Next, about book. The story and pictures or author is Maurice Sendak. Publisher is Red Fox. Where the Wild Things Are is a classic picture book which explores a child's anger. On the story, Max is allowed to express his feeling as well as the book's emotional resonance. Sandak's artwork continues to be an inspiration to many modern picture books makers in the 20th century. This classic picture book was one of the first picture books to explore a child's anger and does it in a way that allows a conversation to be had without ever feeling preachy. Max is allowed to express his feelings like I said before, fully letting go with the wild rumpus and comes back to his mother and back home when he's worked it all out. From a modern perspective, it could be said that the book shows a child having a time out. Yet, As well as the book's emotional resonance, Sandak's scenes of the wild things and the wild from bush are also a joyous celebration of the imagination and of the freedom of being a child. Sandak's artwork continues to be an inspiration to many modern picture books makers, and the impact of Where the Wild Things Are on children's literature in the 20th and 21st century cannot be underestimated.
Where the Wild Things Are is a 2009 fantasy adventure movie directed by Spike Jonze and written by Jones and Dave Eggers. The movie stars Marks Rickards, Catherine Keener, and others. The movie was released on October 2009 in the United States. Also, the movie was met with positive reviews. Well, I want to tell about the what I did from the film Where the Wild Things Are. What I did. The shocking point here is Max has a sister and father, which wasn't shown in the book because there were only two human characters, which are Max and his mother. The reason of adding this element to make a new conflict which led to Max struggles as a broken home child. The next, each of the wheel things have their names and different personality, where in the book none of them have a name or personality, they just resemble the true wheel things. The representation of Max injured after getting scolded by his mom. And the last about
Alright, the next part is the what's reduced element on the movie. The reduced element in the movie is the book ending where the wild things get angry at Max and threatens him by trying to eat him. The scene was erased in the movie because considering the deep connection between Max and the wild thing, so it would become nonsense if they're trying to eat Max because he wanted to go back. Instead, they let him live with sad goodbye, which somehow makes the original book readers become disappointed. The illustration of the book ending is presented below. And the next part is what's modified element in the movie. The first one is the way Max came to the island of where the wild things are. In the book, his room gradually became wilderness as if stating that it only happened inside his mind. But the movie modified it to make it more natural and dramatic with Max running from his house to the nearest wood and somehow he entered the fantasy realm. The second one is the name carving on the Max boat. In the book, the carving was there from the first to state that it was his boat to sail off. However, in the movie, Max carved his own name on the boat during his sail as if telling the audience that it was his boat because they were doing adventure together even though the boat was stranger at first. The third one is the length of night Max spent in the wilderness. In the book, Max only had one night with the wild things before going home again to have his supper. But in the movie, they modified it into few nights for Max having enough time to build friendship with the wild things. And the last one is a major theme. In the book, it was rage after being scolded of his own misbehaving for acting like a fox. But in the movie, it was clearly modified from rage to complex sadness of being abandoned. Max was at age where he full of different emotions that sometimes he couldn't divine it himself without adult help. In the movie, each of unidentified Max emotions were represented in the wild things he met.
One conclusion. Where the Wild Things Are is a fantasy film adapted by Spike Jonze from the popular 1963 children's book of the same name by Maurice Sendak and is scheduled to be animated in the early 80s. Traditional animation are displayed and combined with computer-generated settings. As explained above, technical limitation at the time gradually delayed the filming process until Universal Pictures finally purchased the rights to the book adaptation in 2001, but still made it into an animated format. Ultimately, after the arrival of director Spike Jonze, plans to animate the book changed. Based on the conclusion of the movie Where the What Things Are, it is concluded that this movie is in fact a children's movie that shows what a child's emotions are like. The reality is that even when children have been abandoned by their own family members, such as their mothers and older siblings, they still feel lonely and disappointed. Because of the scenery and intonation, it is not intended for children and is evaluated as a main character that seeks affection for adult characters. Also, given the plot, Where the What Things Are is definitely not a movie for everyone. The film requires a higher level of passion to enjoy the dark plot, coupled with the director's slow-paced storytelling. But behind all this, Jonze managed to bring beauty to the various emotional concerns exhibited by the characters Max and his 7 monster characters throughout the plot of this film. Increased at the ending of the movie, in which Max gets separated from his 7 new friends, will probably hit the peak of your emotion when you hear about Max's journeys with 7 wild creatures. 2. Personal rating. The rating for this film is average across all blogs or journals, with one of the articles at the movie getting a rating of 4 out of 5. In our opinion, in terms of cinematography, the way the film is shot, the setting, and etc., is epic, which managed to give a beauty over the various emotional sorrow displayed by the character Max and the 7 monster characters that exist in the storyline of this film. This film is very epic and relates to human life, especially a child who will seek happiness but does not know it. Even his own family does not accept it. Alright, that's all from us. Thank you so much for keeping up with us throughout the video. Once again, thank you so much and see you on our next one.